What's happening, everybody? So today is a spooky one. We're talking about Creaks, which came out last week on Apple Arcade, and it is coming out next week for the stuff we're going to play it on, like the PCs and PC and console. So we're going to get to play this next week. I thought hard about playing it, but the thing is, it's on Apple Arcade, so if you have an Apple device, you can pretty much play it. But I don't want to play it like that. I don't want to play it on my phone. And I don't have anything against my phone as like a gaming platform, but for something like an Amanita Design game, I'm gonna need to play that on the best setup that I have available to me, which is at this time going to be my PC. And I want the experience to be as immersive as possible, because this game, like I said, is just really important to me. The reason it's important to me is because Amanita Design is a studio out of the Czech Republic, and they have been making absolute classics in the point-and-click adventure genre. And in fact, they really kind of reinvented the point-and-click adventure genre, or they at least gave it a really nice fresh coat of paint and revitalized that genre for a whole new generation. So I believe Amanita got their start in 2003. Their big splash success game was called Machinarium, as we see here. Now, Machinarium, if you've heard of any Amanita game, it's probably this one, because it's been ported to like everything, and it is extremely good. It's not my favorite Amanita game, but it is very good, and it really set the stage for what was to come in the more recent years with games like Botanicula and Samorost 3. We'll talk about all those. But basically, point-and-click adventure games are incredibly important to video games even today, because even though things have kind of phased out of the actual point-and-click format of a game, those games are still around in some form. Like, you've got the Ace Attorney series, you've got Telltale games. Think about all the smashing success of Telltale games with things like, there's like a Borderlands one, the Walking Dead one was really big. You've got a Game of Thrones one, you've got a Minecraft Telltale adventure game. So that studio has done it really big. You've got the Life is Strange games. You've got the Room series. There's plenty of basically point-and-click adventure games that are still new and relevant today. So I want to talk a little bit about the history very quickly. I'm not going to bore you too much, but I want to talk a little bit about the history of point-and-click adventure games, because, these games have been around since like the 90s. And this is one this is called a MacVenture game, and this is Enchanted Scepters. This is apparently the first point-and-click adventure game, because it's the first real adventure game that you used with a mouse. And I am borrowing this footage from Game Relic Resurrection, and I checked out this channel. They've only got this one playthrough. I've muted it. We can't hear it, but I just want to let you guys sort of observe what's happening here. We've got this dialogue box on the right that's sort of chronicling everything that's happening. We've got literally our commands from the context menu on the Apple II computer that this is being played on or emulated from. And you've got all your different commands. You can look, you can search, you can rest. You've got your directional commands. You've got weapons you can use, your inventory. So it's all here. This is legit a point-and-click adventure game. And really, back in the day, back in like the 80s and 90s, these games were the most immersive games possible, really, at the time. Now, you could argue that there were some, like dungeon crawling RPGs and different games that were very immersive as well, but the point and clicks were up there in the most immersive game possible that you could have, given the hardware and given sort of what people knew to do with games at the time. But anyway, so we'll click around a little more. I love the way this freaking game looks, man. I have not played this game, but this is one that I really want to check out. Oh my God, I love that. How do you not love the way this game looks? I mean, look how dumb and wonderful it looks. Okay, but anyway, a little bit more of not a modern one, but an evolved version of that formula. We've got Quest for Glory. I'm borrowing this footage from World of Long Plays, which I've never checked out that channel, but I think I may now that I'm looking at this. But anyway, similar situation here, except this time you could actually type out commands. You would have to sort of learn the language of what's possible to type, what possible commands you can trigger with your keyboard. But I mean, you are absolutely, this is an immersive experience because you're in this town, this big open world. You can go around to different locations, chat with different NPCs. You can gain inventory, get access to new areas. And this was a big experience. These games take a long time to beat. So these were really the original games that had this kind of like long play formula. Like, these are not quick pick up and play NES style games where you just play and you die after a couple minutes of playing. No, these are long haul experiences. So what I'm getting at here is this genre, the point and click genre, is very important for setting the stage for all kinds of game genres in the future. And it was really refreshing for me to see Amanita Design come out in 2009 and drop Machinarium, which was just a joy to play at the time. I'm not going to play footage of Machinarium because I don't want this to be just a footage overload video, but Machinarium, if you haven't played it, it's everywhere. Play it. If you like the way that looks, the game looks like that. After that, they came out a few years later with Botanicula, which was another amazing point and click game. And again, the art style was out of this world. So kind of earthy, organic is kind of the theme for their games. I mean, even this game that's all about robots is still like got this very earthy, rustic kind of look to it. And we've got Botanicula had a similar thing going on, but it was a much brighter, more vibrant game, not as dull and drab looking, wonderfully drab looking as Machinarium. And then in 2016, we had my favorite game from Amanita Design so far, and that is Samorost 3. Now, what I'd like to do with you guys really quickly is I would like to compare the Samorost 3 trailer to the Creaks trailer, because for me, Samorost 3 is just it is the grandest game, and that is sort of what I like about this studio, is they always manage to up their game when it comes to just making each game a little deeper, a little longer, a little more fascinating, a little better looking. Like, they're just constantly evolving and growing. So I want to play this trailer for you. So we will play it now. This is from GameSpot Trailers. And we see our little planet. We see how lush everything looks. We see... Okay, there it goes. We see how inventive, crazily imaginative this footage is. I mean, this is how the game looks when you play it. This is all real footage. And I just can't get over how beautiful this game is, man. It's just so... It gives me hope in the video game medium as something that we can have really good experiences with, really immersive experiences with, and really just, it's just artistic, you know? So many games these days are just hyper-realism. That's like the only art style in AAA gaming today. It's all just hyper-realism. That's just the way the games look. They try to make them look real as possible. And yeah, they can do some design elements with lighting and character design and things like that. But ultimately, the way everything looks is just hyper-realism. This looks like an insane Renaissance painting come to life. You're flying an onion around. And of course, the soundtrack to this game is amazing as well. I've been playing it in the background throughout this video. So there it is. To me, friends, that is the apex of this studio. That is everything right there for me. Now I want to look at Creaks, because Creaks is, like I said, the new game, the reason we're here in this video. Let's watch the Creaks trailer. Also, very good looking game. Slightly different art style, a little more sketchbook-like, but also very illustrative. All of their games have this very illustrative quality. We can see it's a much darker game. It's much more dreary, gothic, I guess you could say. And the most of all the design elements going on here in Creaks, the super linear gameplay, you've got the different floors, and this game, unlike the other games, is actually a controller game. So it's actually designed for you to use a controller. I don't even know if you can use a mouse and keyboard to play this game, because I think it's all about you walk forward, you press a button to interact with something. I think that's how it's formatted. So that's a little different for Amanita. Now that looks great right there. I love the way they have these kind of little mini games built into little trinkets that you find around these worlds. That's very cool. And then, so yeah, so we've got this large building in Creaks. It is like all of the game feels very platformy because of the floors in this giant mansion. And I mean, yeah, like there's no, all of their games are pretty linear in terms of you're not, it's not like a big open space where you're walking around. You're very limited in your movement. And this just cranks it up a notch, because it's literally just a 2D game. Like there's no way around it. This is a 2D game. It is a controller game. And I definitely don't like, I mean, I think it looks great and I'm stoked as hell. I can say though that I don't like this art style as much as I like, you know, the other games, more specifically Samorost 3. Samorost 3 rocked my world. This looks like it's going to be really cool, but it looks like they're taking a step back or a step to the side. I almost wonder if this game is going to be a much shorter game, like a much, like Amanita seems to have fragmented their efforts, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because last year we got an Amanita project. It was a very, very short one called Pilgrims. You should check that out. It's on Steam. And then we also, a few years back, we had Chuchel, which was another shorter kind of more of an art installation kind of game. And then we've got, you know, now we've got Creaks. And again, it looks like a proper mainline Amanita game, not as grand looking as Samorost 3. And I kind of have to wonder, since it's on Apple Arcade, if they kind of designed it that way, if they wanted to make this a very mobile friendly experience, which tells me it might be shorter, like significantly shorter than what we're used to with Amanita titles. So I just don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm incredibly stoked to play this game. I mean, it looks good. It's an Amanita game. And I can't wait to play it in 4K. I started to play it on my work MacBook, and I hooked it up to a 4K monitor, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna love this. This is gonna be amazing. I can play it in 4K. It doesn't matter that it's on my MacBook. And then I realized when I put it in 4K that it's choppy. The animation, the movement is choppy. So when I turned the game back down to 1080p, that went away. It was no longer choppy. It was very much smooth. But I don't want to play it like that because I'm spoiled. And I want to play it like, you know, I want to play it in 4K 60. So I'm just going to wait. And it's a drag because, oh, you know, that's the thing about Apple Arcade, man, is Apple Arcade gives you some really good experiences, but ultimately the really good ones, like the Creaks level games, you want to play those on the best hardware you have. And for many of us, that's not our iPhone in our pocket. So, but for many of us it is, and there's nothing wrong with playing games that way. If that's the best way that you can play a game, if that's the best platform you have available to you, there is no harm, no foul in using that platform to play a game as cool as Creaks. So absolutely play it, love it, enjoy it on Apple Arcade if that's what you got. I'm going to be buying this next week. Still don't know how much it's going to cost. I'm going to bet it's going to cost $20. But I just don't know. And even though this game's been out since last week on Apple Arcade, there hasn't been a lot of people talking about it, which is unfortunate. That's one reason I wanted to make this video, is because Amanita is a slept-on studio. They do not get their fair share of shine, and they're not always the conversation piece that they should be, unfortunately. But anyway, this was a look at Creaks. I wanted to look at it, compare it side by side with my favorite Amanita game, Samorost 3. I definitely think Samorost 3 looks like the more ambitious title. I think it has a cooler art style, at least from what we can see comparing both trailers. But Creaks is going to be fun. It's going to be spooky. It definitely looks cool. It's definitely, it's perhaps the most distinct looking game of the three big Amanita titles that we've covered, because the house aesthetic, the being in the house, being on the floors, all the ladders, is very maze-like, I think. That's the one. Okay, so I did play this for just a few minutes as I was kind of testing it out. So I've played approximately like 5 minutes of Creaks. And what I can say so far is it is very maze-like. So there's a lot of different ladders around, and you can see kind of even here in this still, some of the ladders are kind of covered up. So finding the ladders, finding those little dark spaces where there might be a ladder, crawling into it, seeing where it leads. Yeah, very maze-like, very labyrinthine, whatever. So I'm stoked. I might even take the day off work on Wednesday just to play this game all the way through. Typically you can, the last game, Samorost 3, I got through it in like 10 hours, 8 hours, something like that. So this game, I think I'll be able to get through in a day. Again, it doesn't look more grand than Samorost 3, so I can't necessarily imagine it being longer, but it could be longer. We just don't know. Or those of us who have not played on Apple Arcade don't know. Okay, I'm rambling, so I'm going to end the video now. So anyway, guys, enjoy Creaks when it comes out next week, or enjoy it now if you're playing on Apple Arcade. And let me know what you think about the game. Let me know what you think about the way it looks in the comments below. That's all for this one, guys. Peace.